Hi, thank you for joining us. With us today is Anika Zubair, the head of customer success at Griffin. How are you doing today?
I'm great, Ben. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to chat to you today.
I'm excited too. Why don't we dive right into it? Why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and your path to becoming a CS leader?
Cool. Happy to share. My name is Anika Zubair. As you already mentioned, I am currently head of customer success at Griffin, which is a banking as a service bank here in London, England. And I spent the last 13 years of my career working in what I like to say post-sales revenue roles because I've had a number of different titles, but it's been anywhere from customer sales manager, head of CS, director of CS, VP of CS. But I do think that everything and all the teams I have run up until now are post-sales revenue generators, and that is what I do every day in customer success.
Well, that sounds like a lot of fun. I know you've had a lot of various roles in different positions, and you can look back and reflect. What advice would you have for somebody their first 100 days leading a CS team?
Oh, I think that this is like something that every leader will struggle with because as a CS person, you want to help. That's just kind of the nature of the game. You want to jump in, you want to help, whether it's helping your team, helping your customers, helping. It just happens to be the nature of the type of people that do this role. But I think if I look back and I want to redo my first 100 days, I would always spend time with the customer. I think the customer will tell you almost anything and everything you need to know before anyone at an organization can, meaning they will tell you about the products, the good, the bad, the ugly. They will tell you about the team, the good, the bad, the ugly. They will tell you about the industry, the good, the bad, the ugly. They will talk you through their experience of working with your product and service. So I would spend a lot of time with customers on calls, as many as you can, by the way. I'm still, as a leader, I actually actively spend time on calls with customers, not just escalations, but actively having partnership discussions. That's the first thing I would do is reprioritize that. I think another thing that I would really make sure I do in the first 100 days is understand your stakeholders. As a leader, but especially in customer success, there are multiple stakeholders and multiple people within the business that you report both directly and indirectly to, meaning stakeholders might be the board, meaning like you own a revenue number, or it might be just the wider leadership team that are looking for certain KPIs that you need to hit, or it might be other people in other like parts of the business that are like, well, if CS leader is here, they need to help with case studies. A marketing person's probably going to come to you for that, or they need to help us develop a better roadmap. Product person's going to come to you for that. You have multiple stakeholders in a business, and you need to really understand who those people are and what they're kind of expecting out of customer success. And then the third and final thing, and it's not third because it's lowest on the list, it's just listing everything, but it's really getting to know your team and the people that are working for you. I know sometimes when you step into leadership, you don't have a team yet. You might hire it out yourself, which is great. You get to pick who works on a team. But sometimes when you step into a role, you don't necessarily get to pick that team. They're already there. And I would say that as a leader, you are like there to enable your team to succeed because the more successful they are, the more successful customers are and the company is, and ultimately yourself. And I think getting to know your team and what they're working on, what they're striving towards, their pain points, their struggles, I think getting to know all of those pieces is only going to make you a stronger leader and making sure that when you step into the next 100 days, you really have a strong foundation and a strong team that's able to support the vision that you're going to come in and do with customer success.
Well, let's talk about that next step, right? You're currently, running the CS program at Griffin. What are you focusing on?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm definitely past my 100 days, although I would argue that I should probably be back in it because I always feel like I'm still new. There's always, every day is a school day. I feel like there's something new to learn every day. But we are definitely in early stage build, meaning we launched with some of our first customers when I joined. And so we were basically onboarding and going live with some of our first customers this year. So what are we learning? What are we doing? We're starting to build process. We're realizing that there are some repeatable bits that we're like, okay, what the first customer did, the third and the fifth they're also doing now too. So let's build a process around it rather than trying to recreate the wheel every single time. And we're also collecting as much data as we can. Again, very new. We don't have as much historical data as maybe some other more mature customer success organizations, but we are working on creating that flywheel that is customer success and making sure onboarding and expansion and that happens naturally as well. But we're only in the early stages. We're literally just launching and going live with some of our first customers. And we're trying to collect as much data on that customer as well, whether it's product usage, whether it's um, how they're using their like sandbox versus live environment, whether it's how they're interacting with our documentation and our guides, and maybe it's also how they're working with us, meaning modes of communication. Is email better? Is a call better? We're just figuring all those bits out. So I think that's where we find ourselves right now, is that we're no longer early stage, but we are just trying to build a process around what we know about our customers.
That sounds really exciting. How do you measure the success of these initiatives?
So I think a lot of it has to do with some of the metrics that you track across customer success in general. One in onboarding that's really critical. I think that a lot of people track across the industry, but we are looking as well at time to first value or time to first revenue. So like I said, our very big focus this year has been getting customers not only signed with us, but how quickly do they go from a sales handover to CS and helping them implement and go live. And we are really tracking that, and we are trying to see a downward trend in the number of days it takes for us to go through basically the entire sales cycle, get them on a kickoff call, and then how long does it take for us to go from a kickoff call to them going fully live with our product. So that's our first value marker is the live moment. And so at first this took us quite a long time because again, teething issues with either integration or them not understanding support documentation, or again, figuring out our modes and communications are working. But what has happened is we've gotten tighter, we've gotten better, we've built more processes around this, and we're starting to notice that to go in a downward direction, meaning less days for the first time to value, which is, again, a great indicator that our customers are getting rolling and getting up live with us quicker.
I think that's a really great KPI. What pain points do you have when you're leading a CS team?
I think a lot of people feel this, whether you're at a small organization like myself or you're at a global organization, there's always so much more customer success either wants to do, can do, or should do. CS falls in this unique crosshairs of you mix a little bit of product knowledge, you mix a little bit of commercial knowledge, you work a little bit with the marketing team. There's so many teams and so many people that you influence and interact with in customer success that a lot of time it's so easy that you're going to be like, yes, I'll do this, or yes, I'll do that. And it becomes a natural byproduct of working in customer success, I would say. I've seen it so many times. But I think whether you're in a small or large organization, as I was saying, being that person that's trying to help everyone, which tends to be the natural tendency of customer success, means that you become a little bit resource poor or resource constricted because you're trying to do so much. Or you're like, oh, actually, we have to do this to save this customer. Then we have to do this to make this customer successful. And you get pulled in so many different directions. And I think staying laser focused as well as trying not to boil the ocean is probably really, really a big challenge that any CS leader or any CS team probably faces at any given moment, no matter how big or small your team is.
Absolutely. Yeah, you got a lot on your plate and you want to help everybody and you can't do everything at once. You got to focus on the big goals, right? You got a lot of big things you need to do, the rocks versus the sand. Another question I had for you, I'm interested in your insights are, how do you establish a partnership with the C-suite?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because again, every organization is super different, and sometimes you're brought in as like a individual contributor that's like growing with the business, and as you grow, you then progress into a leadership role. My last few roles, I've been brought in as the most senior leader, part of the executive team, so I attend our weekly executive team meetings. I literally bring the customer to the table of those meetings as well. I think that my approach to the C-suite is just also my approach in how we work with multi-threaded stakeholders within a customer. Like I said earlier, you have multiple stakeholders, both internally and externally, and the C-suite is one of those internal stakeholders that is critical that you work with. Now, will you be sitting next to your CFO every single day? No, probably not. I mean, gosh, that might be a lot to commit to, but will you be working with him to really understand like the profit loss margin, how you're going to start budgeting for your headcount? Yes, you should be. And the thing is, there's always something to learn from your stakeholders. And in my first leadership role, I didn't know that I should be talking to all these different stakeholders. And sometimes I was more controlled rather than in the controlling seat. So again, like I said, it's really important in your first 100 days to make sure you understand your internal stakeholders. And I think the C-suite, whether it's directly the CFO or anyone else within the organization that is the C-suite that influences, you should have some sort of regular contact, regular check-in, regular understanding of the ways of working of how customer success interacts with the chief product officer or the chief technology officer or the chief marketing officer, whoever the C-suite title you're interacting with. It should be some level of initiative from your side to make that connection.
Hmm. I want to bring back a little something you said there. You said you bring the customer to the table in these C-suite meetings.
Mhm.
Why don't we give you an example of when you've done that? You provided feedback from the customer and it's helped out your company.
Yeah. I mean, we first of all, we have an all hands that happens every 3 weeks. And actually there's a section in that all hands that's just about new launch customers. And we basically celebrate and in a few slides, who's launched, what are they doing with us, what products did they buy from us, like the time to value metric that I just shared earlier, that's on that slide. So every 3 weeks in general, the whole company, as we like to say, we're really behind the success of our customers because the success of their business equals the success of ours. So we're sharing those successes, meaning the milestone of launching with us at those meetings. But every week at senior leadership, we also have a list of like what we call customer blockers. And like these are blockers to the next level of revenue realization that they could be having with us, but more than likely there's something blocking it, whether it's our product, whether it's our services, whether it's their product, whether it's the integration, doesn't matter what it is. But we bring up any sort of blocker at that meeting and we don't like try to repeat it. But the reason why it's brought up at that executive level is because those are the most senior decision makers that are hopefully going to go away from that meeting and enable their team and let their teams know, hey, X customer has come to the table and this has happened. We need to unlock this because it's critical for our investors to see that we're continuing to support and see our customers successful, or it's critical for our I don't know, board to really understand that our customers are well satisfied with our product. But I think in the world we work and live in, like if customers aren't being discussed regularly at executive meetings, what is happening? Because they are the bread and butter of everything that we do. Like we're not just building a product for, I don't know, AI bot to use. Those are like customers. Those are people that are using your product and services. So if you're not talking about a customer in every type of situation, then what are we all doing here?
That makes sense. And you said something that made me ask you this question. Is like, so you said your investors care about the customer success. Well, they're kind of a step back from the business. How much of a focus would you say the investment team has on the success of the customers? And was that a big priority when making the investment?
Yeah, I think it's a huge part. I mean, I've worked at VC-backed startups for background of everyone understanding the type of investors that I'm used to working with. But any sort of venture capital is looking for a return on investment probably fairly quickly in today's market as well. But a return on investment means that they're hoping for a product and company to be somewhat profitable or on the road to profitability so that they see success. Most times that comes out of not hiring. Well, I mean, you can hire, but you need to then justify the team growth towards revenue and business growth. And the way the revenue and business growth comes either is through new logos or new customers or existing customers and the growth of those customers. So, yeah, we have investor meetings every month and they are removed, like you said. They're not there to direct how we run a business, but they are very validly interested in customers and what they're doing and how it's growing with the business. And the main reason they are interested is because they too are looking on a return on investment. And I think that's the big key thing. Our customers are using our product for some level of return on investment, whether it's like a, hey, I need to save time by using this software, or I need to save money, or I need to be more efficient. Like investors are the same way. They're just trying to get a return on investment of investing in your company, and they're trying to look for the best way possible. And usually the best way is through customers recognizing your product and growing with your product, whether it's licenses, expansion and consumption, whatever your model is.
That makes a ton of sense. And thank you for diving into that. What do you think is the future of customer success?
Good. Good. predictor. A year ago, I would say it's AI, but I think that that's like something that we use all the time in customer success. I think the next real evolution and step for customer success is being more comfortable with the revenue markers. I think a lot of times customer success has come out of the support arm or maybe the professional services arm, or for anyone that was in like, perpetual software, it was like account management or in again, professional services, which all is great, but in the SaaS world and the reoccurring world of revenue that we live in, I think customer success doesn't give itself enough credit when it comes to being revenue generators and revenue leaders. Hence why I said post-sales revenue leader earlier, is because I think that the next evolution of customer success is realizing how much influence and how much, I guess, forward-looking projection like the customer success team has on a business. I think a lot of times everyone sees customer success as the support arm, as almost a cost of running a business rather than the revenue it can generate if you align towards your customers' goals being met. So personally, I think it's something that's already kind of happening, but I do think like if you ask me again in 2, 3 years, it'll be almost a default that we are comfortable with knowing that customer success managers and the CS team as a whole are revenue drivers.
Mhm. That's awesome, and I think everybody should be focused about revenue at a company, right? It's if you're making money, you're going to be keeping your job. It's a
Yeah,
really important
exactly.
part
We
of
don't work
business.
for
Yeah,
free. Like it's
exactly. Yeah,
money does make the world go round.
yeah. This is my last question for you. It's a softball. What else should we know about you, and how can we follow your career?
Amazing. Well, if you ever want to connect with me, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm very active. It's just linkedin.com/Anika Zubair. I also have my own podcast. So if you do want to know anything about customer success, I interview lots of guests in the industry and customer success. That's podcast.thecustomersuccesspro.com. And if you're interested in any coaching or anything like that, I also host coaching sessions, which is thecustomersuccesspro.com. So that is where you can find me. And I really believe in inbox zero. So if you message me, you will hear back from me.
Oh, that's awesome. I love inboxes. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. This was awesome.
Yeah, thanks.